Aloha, everyone. Welcome back to the negotiation table. My name is Wincy Hong, your host and communications specialist here at HGEA. With us today, we have U.S. Senator Brian Schatz. Welcome to the podcast.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Before we dive into this month's interview, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. All right, so let's dive in. We are more than 100 days into the Trump-Musk administration and its anti-worker agenda. We've seen the cutting of vital public services, including the gutting of the Social Security Administration and threats to end the Department of Education. Thousands of federal workers have been fired and collective bargaining rights undermined. Ultra-wealthy billionaires are causing all this harm to secure massive tax cuts for themselves on the backs of working people. So, Senator, can we start by getting a general sense from you on what these first 100 days have been like from your vantage point in the Senate? What are your impressions of the Trump-Musk agenda now that we've had some time to watch it in action?
Well, I think he's going through with it all, right? There was this sense in the first Trump term that he would say a lot of stuff but not go through with it. And I think what's happened is that people really believed him when he said he was going to reduce prices and didn't believe him when he said he was going to cut taxes and cut Medicaid. And the truth is, he's really going through with most of his agenda, except for the reason that people actually elected him in the first place, which was to try to get prices down. And so with the tariffs and all of that, prices are going up, not down. And the way he's treating not just federal workers, but workers across the spectrum, I think is starting to backfire. We've got people at VA, in the National Park Service, at our airports and our law enforcement agencies that are really being treated like garbage, and it's really not fair. The one thing I'd just point out is that a lot of what's happening is illegal and is being reversed by the courts. So we have to be careful not to be naive to how serious this situation is, but also to separate things that he wants to make you believe has already happened and the things that he has the authority to do, without the Congress and without the courts. And a bunch of the stuff that he's done, eliminating the Department of Education, proposing to eliminate FEMA, all of that has to go through Congress, and there's no way we're going to let him do it.
Thousands of our members are in jobs that rely on federal money, and many of them are concerned about what this will mean for them and the vital services they provide to the public. What's your sense on how these policies will impact Hawaii?
Look, I think there's two ways to look at this. First of all, most of the federal funding to which Hawaii is entitled is still flowing. Somewhere between 95 and 100% of it is still getting to Hawaii. But there are really notable areas in which the funds are frozen. University of Hawaii is really suffering, and a lot of grants to nonprofits are also being shut down. And so you can kind of paint the macroeconomic picture, right, with Carl Bonham and everything else, and say, well, this isn't that much money in the scheme of things. But the problem is they're specifically cutting certain programs, and those people are being laid off. My staff and I work a spreadsheet every day tracking every single line of federal resources. And so it's kind of a good news, bad news situation. Most of it is still coming, but I would say somewhere between 3 and 6% of it is being illegally either frozen or cut altogether. And that's what we got to fight, both in the legislative context, but also in court.
Mm-hmm. Speaking on that, many of our members are also retirees who have worked their entire careers paying into Social Security and Medicare. They're worried as they watch Trump gut the Social Security Administration and Republicans cut $800 billion from entitlement benefits. What does the future of these programs look like under this administration?
I think Social Security will not be touched in terms of the benefit structure, in terms of making good on the promise for people who worked all their lives, paid into the system, and are entitled to an earned benefit. This is not this is not a safety net program. This is something that people paid into as part of their paycheck. And so those promises will be kept. I think where they're trying to sort of gut the program is making it really hard to get through to anybody, making it so you got to physically show up if you want to access the benefits, turning customer service individuals into like chat bots. They're trying to make the program hard to access, but the program itself, the money is still there. We spent a fair amount of time on the phone with constituents who are worried that Social Security is already gone. It is not gone. Where I think there's more risk is Medicaid. They do want to cut Medicaid, and they do want to cut food stamps, SNAP. And in Hawaii, it would be, for the SNAP program, the Nutrition Assistance Program, would be almost $300 million of a reduction. And that's, think, $300 million worth of food that doesn't get purchased for people who need it in the state of Hawaii. And then on the Medicaid side, it will throw some number of tens of thousands of people in the state of Hawaii off of Medicaid. And even worse than that, most hospitals have a significant portion of their revenue coming in through Medicaid. So even if you're a union member and you're not on Medicaid, if you're on HMSA or Kaiser or whatever it may be, if you live in a rural neighborhood where the clinic depends on Medicaid, those clinics may not exist without those Medicaid resources. So it's not just whether you're personally on Medicaid, but what it does to the healthcare system overall, especially in our rural communities.
President Trump recently signed an executive order that eliminates collective bargaining rights for many federal employees. That measure doesn't directly impact HCA members in Hawaii. However, our executive director, Randy Pereira, has warned us that every worker should be scared if the president is able to end rights with the stroke of a pen. Can you talk about how this administration could reshape the labor landscape?
Randy's really right about this, that we have to kind of, abide by the old labor adage, an injury to one is an injury to all. We all have to hang together here, even if our individual collective bargaining rights are not currently being infringed upon. Federal, state, county, public, private, everybody really has to understand whatever squabbles we have politically or, in terms of jurisdiction or whatever else, not as important as this overall threat to the right to collectively bargain. I will say, you don't get to wave away a statutory right by executive order. This is another example of Trump doing a horrible thing, for sure, that does real damage, for sure. But he's mostly wishing away a law that he knows he can't repeal through the regular congressional process. So we're going to be fighting into the court. I do believe that our side, the pro-labor side, will win in court. But we have to be very, very wary of what he's doing to the labor landscape. And gutting the Federal Department of Labor makes it such that you may have these rights on paper, but no enforcement mechanism. The solicitor's office, all these lawyers that enforce, labor rights, human rights, workplace rights, if they don't exist anymore, if those programs have no enforcement, then those rights may only exist in theory and not in practice.
The economy was recovering under President Biden, with economists touting a highly desired soft landing after record inflation. But in a few short months, Trump has reversed all of this. Our members can't afford more inflation or rising costs because of tariffs. How worried do we need to be about the destruction of the economy right now?
I mean, look, one of the things I like to do with everybody in Hawaii is to be as direct as possible. And on the federal funding side, I'm trying to tell folks that it's a serious situation, it's an alarming situation, but most of the federal resources are coming. On this one, I don't have good news. This is Trump's authority. It's not really a legislative matter. And even if it were, the Republican Congress is very unlikely to come in and put a check on him. This is Trump's authority, and he likes it. Like, he's got very few core, values that have stuck with him through the 30 or 40 years that he's dabbled in politics. He was pro-choice, now he's pro-life. He was, pro-labor, now he's anti-labor. He was pro-gay, now he's anti-gay. But the one thing that he has sort of really believed in his core is this idea that tariffs are helpful, and that whenever you collect tariff, you're getting something out of it, as opposed to the understanding of a tariff as it's just a retail tax that people pay on an imported item. he still thinks the government is collecting money from China as opposed to from people who buy a thing from China. It's everybody at Walmart, Keomoku, or Costco, in Kona, or wherever it is. You walk in, you pay for something from China or any other country, and you're going to pay more now. I don't have good news as it relates to that. And this is the thing that probably worries me the most about Hawaii is we're already a place that pays more for almost everything because of our geographic isolation. So this is going to be a little bit of a rough period for us.
You have been one of the leading voices of opposition in Congress, holding up more than 300 Trump nominees, for instance. Can you talk about the ways you are fighting back? And can you offer our members advice on how they can help fight back too?
Well, look, I'm doing everything I can, and I guess the thing that I used to say when I spoke to school kids back when I was in my early 20s is, where do you start? Wherever you are. What do you use? Whatever you have. What do you do? Whatever you can. And I really believe that. I believe that everybody has a role to play. I was talking to Lisa Blunt Rochester, who's a new senator, and she was talking with a person who didn't have any time, but just was able to kind of, when she was making cookies for her grandkids, make extra cookies for people who were volunteering. And this sense of, I'm sorry, it's not enough. And what she said is, whatever you're doing, that's enough. Whatever you can do, that's enough. If you're going to email your member of Congress, if you're going to post online, if you're going to contribute to a Democratic candidate, if you're going to talk to your family on the continental United States, whatever it is that you can be doing, that's what you should be doing. I do think there's this sense among sort of left of center politicians and in left of center politics where it's like, what's the plan? What's the, politics, I've never seen it, even when it works, right? In the Obama era, in the Clinton era, in the first Biden victory, it's not as, scripted as everybody wants it to be, where you have a flow chart and a spreadsheet and a bunch of smart dudes and ladies and everybody else, and they're going to try to make it all work for you. The truth is that a movement depends on everybody just taking action and moving in the same direction. So I wouldn't get so fussy about whether the thing you're doing is the thing you're supposed to be doing. If you're doing something in the direction of saving our democracy and fighting for your neighbor, then you're doing the right thing.
Yes, exactly. And Senator, we know you are busy, so we really appreciate you taking time to talk to our members. Do you have any last thoughts you would like to share?
Look, we're going to get through this. I don't know how quickly we're going to get through this. That's the truth of it. But I take some solace in, first of all, our collective solidarity in the state of Hawaii, how much we believe in each other. And even those of us who voted on one side or the other, there's this sense that we belong to each other more than we belong to our political party. So I take solace in that. But I also take solace in the understanding that America and Hawaii have gone through tougher times than these. It sort of feels like a really challenging period, and it is. I'm not naive to the seriousness of the moment, but other people have come through it, and they've come through it not just with political leadership, but with community leadership. There is that old story about Martin Luther King Jr. meeting with the President of the United States trying to pass the second Civil Rights Act, and the people get it mixed up. But the basic story is that the President of the United States tells Martin Luther King Jr., I don't have the support yet for what you want me to do. Go out there and make me do it. And that's what he did. He built a movement and made the politicians do it. Now, with me, you're going to be pushing on an open door, but I think that's the work of saving our democracy is it's a participatory enterprise. It's not a sport where you just kind of root for your side and hope it all works out. You got to get in there and get involved. And I know HGA has been at the leading edge of that since statehood.
Yes, exactly. And we will be here. Mahalo for that. We're grateful to have your voice in the Senate. Thank you for all that you are doing.
Thank you.
Join the conversation, everyone. In the comments, let us know what parts of the Trump-Musk agenda most worries you. Are you in a federally funded position? Tell us your story in the comments. And for more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.